If you're watching this video, I believe you have some sort of service-based business you're running, and you're asking yourself, how do I get to price my service? Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how you get to price your service in under 4 steps. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Yeah. So if that feels like something you're interested into, then let's get into the video. Now, the first thing you'll ever need to have is to start with accounting for time investments. Now, this doesn't have to be complicated. There are basically 4 simple questions you need to ask yourself under the accountability of time investment. And starting off with 1, what is the number of service sessions? Yeah. This is where you need to assess yourself as a service provider. How many sessions do I need to take someone through in order to get from point A to point B? Remember, what people are paying for is not any other sort of way or stuff, but they are paying for the transformation. They are paying for how to get from point A to point B. And in this case, what is it going to take your clients? How many interactions, how many sessions, how many engagements are they going to be if they need to get from being beginners to being professionals? Referencing the previous client I worked with, she was into crocheting, and now when we engaged and I asked her, how many sessions do you think it will take your client to get from point A, which is a beginner, to point B, which is an intermediate, where they can get to show out the results of whatever it is that they produced? She said 4 sessions. Yeah. So if you're there and you're running some sort of business, yeah, say you're teaching, say you're doing some construction, say you're into restaurant stuff, you need to ask, how long is this transformation going to take? How many sessions do you need to have in order for you to get a transformation for the client? Yeah. So that is the first question. The second question is the duration of each session. Yeah. So with this, you need to ask yourself, with every engagement, with every interaction, with every session, how long does it take in terms of hours? Yeah. Most of you can get to have the certain engagement. Yeah. It could be 30 minutes per session. Others, it could be 8 hours per session. Others, it could be 12 hours per session. Still referencing my previous clients, hers was 2 hours per session. Now, find it in your business. Get to know the number of sessions it takes one to get from point A to point B. And for each interaction, for each engagement that you get to interact with, how long does it take in terms of hours? Now, the third question is there any extra time that is needed? Yeah. Before you get to do some deep understanding, are there some sort of basics? Are there some sort of history? Is there some sort of preamble you need to get your clients through? Maybe you're not into a teaching kind of service. Maybe you're into road constructions. How long is there any sort of time that you'll need, like extra time you'll need, in order for you to put together everything you'll need to get your construction activities started? So you need to note all down. And lastly, how much per hour or per session? Yeah? So this comes down to your to how much you value your time. How much is the value of your 1 hour? You could charge this per hour, you could charge this per session. To me, I prefer charging per hour, but to some of you, might want session. So choose whatever feels right for you. Now, with step 1, the main goal is to get to know how much it gets to cost your client to subscribe to your service, yeah, in terms of time. Yeah. So basically, it gives an estimated total cost based on time. Yeah. So most of you, maybe this is what you do. You charge based on time. But just as any business, it is not just time alone that gets to determine the price. Yeah. There's more that is there to it. And that leads us to step 2, which is accounting for any other cost of delivery or service delivery. And just as with step 1, there are also 4 questions or 4 considerations you need to have in mind. 1, materials involved. Yeah? Just because it is a service-based business, there is no material cost involved. Yeah? No, that's a lie. Let me give an example. If you're running some sort of road construction service, yeah, the cost of materials that you're going to incur. Yeah? 1, you're going to incur the marble, you're going to incur cement, you're going to incur the tar in itself in order for you to make that black oil that gets to combine or bind together the material on the road surface. Yeah. So those are the costs I'm trying to talk about. Yeah. 2, you need to also involve or account for the paperwork. when you're doing some quotations, there are some paperwork you're going to need. Yeah. You're going to do account for BOQs, you're going to sign contracts, you're going to write out notes, you're going to like do every sort of work that is going to require printing, scanning, and all that. So you need to account for all of that because in the end, it is going to influence how much it's going to cost you to deliver on these services, right? Now, three, internet or data. Yeah, for this, I want us to all agree. In this modern era, there is no sort of communication that will ever get a project from zero to 100 without involving some sort of internet. Yeah. You need to file out or send out or share even the BOQs requirements of your project. You need to get some quick information. Maybe you're not at the site ground. There are many ways you need to communicate with one another. And guess what? The easiest mode of communication that there will be would be WhatsApp, will be email, and what the best way will that be if you don't get to use internet? So you have to account the internet as well. And lastly, is transport or the cost of service delivery. So this is so common when it comes to restaurants, all right? Now with restaurants, you'll find that maybe they are cooking or they are preparing their meals from point A, but the client is at the other end of the road or the other end of the town or the other end of maybe the area, maybe let's call it point B. Yeah. So for you to get that prepared meal the client has ordered to from point A to point B is going to cost you some small amount of money. Yeah. So you need to account for all that. Now, why do we have to take note of step two? It is because when we do step two, we get to experience or we get to know the total expense cost. Yeah. So this is going to give us roughly how much it is going to cost us based on what we get to spend on. When you get to combine step one and step two, you're going to have what we call the minimum base price. Now, here's the thing about the minimum base price. You can choose to set your price based on the minimum base price. But remember, when you choose to do that, every money that gets to come in will just go out as is. Yeah. So there won't be any growth. There won't be any sort of sustainability within your company, sustainability within your business. Why? Because you'll always be working at break even point. What gets to come in is equally what gets to be spent. For those of you who want to even take it a step ahead and set up your business in a mode of growth or that want to grow your business sustainably, that is where step three gets to come in. Yeah. But before we get to step three, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ala. I help small businesses and solopreneurs get to price their offers with confidence and clarity. If you need help working with me or if you need help to get clear of your price, just DM me or check out the link in the description. And from there, I'll get to help you fix a few things that are lacking. And with that being said, let's get back to the video. Step three is a point or is a stage that is going to set the point of growth, that is going to set the point of sustainability. Yeah. So what is step three in the first place? Stage three, that is where we get to add value or profit buffer. Now, buffer shouldn't be a word that gets to confuse you. It's basically margin. How much value margin do you want to attach on the minimum base price, or how much profit it is that you want to earn as a business? Yeah, because let's all agree, if you want to grow, we have to minimize. I mean, if you want to grow, we have to make use of the profit margins. Yeah, that is the only way we get to grow. That is the only way we get to add on the value that we've been adding previously. That is the best way we are going to evolve or grow as a business. So here's what gets to happen. You're going to base this value buffer on value delivered. So here's the thing. I want to reference my previous client, the one who does crocheting. With her, I had to make sure that she understands the sort of value that she gets to bring to the market. Yeah. And with her, it wasn't the case of teaching because she was doing more than just teaching. Yeah. What she did was, one, she was saving people time of YouTube trying to learn how to crochet. Two, she was giving her clients confidence. How? She was giving one-on-one, like hands-on practical work. And you know how precious hands-on services nowadays are. Then you'll get to know how much budget she was extending. And based on that, I had to ask her, how much is it that you value your skills in terms of percentage? And she was like, after going back and front, she was like, okay, 20% of that is of whatever I get to charge. I tell you what, maybe you don't understand the worth of your value. If you don't, I'll give you a range through which you can start, you know, justifying your value offer or your profit offer. It could be around 20% to 40%. Any range between 20 to 40% is a good one for you to start with. Yeah. The reason why step 3 is so important is because it gives that base price that is going to grow your business sustainably. Yeah. Because when you have a profit of 8,000, everything is catered for, and the profit is what you use to add on more value in addition to what you've been providing. For most of you, step 1 and step 2 and step 3, that is all you'll ever need. Yeah. But now you might find situations and cases where someone is a newbie. They have no idea of what it is that they want to do. They have no idea of what it is that they need to price. If you get to do the math and you say, giving an example, you're charging 100,000 after step 1, step 2, and step 3, approaching a client who intends to acquire your service and they ask you, how much is it that you charge for maybe crocheting? And out of the blue, you say, I'm charging 100,000 for crocheting. If they're not so deep into the need to learn that service, or if they not so obsessed with the service you provide, for most of them, they are going to ghost you. You won't even get to know or interact with them because they'll be scared of you. And in most cases, they'll try and look out for someone who is cheaper. Yeah. So before you go ahead and say, oh, I need to give discounts, I need to do this, I need this, that's where step 4 gets to come in play. And what is that? So step 4, we've got to choose our offer packaging. So this is so key if you don't want to have those situations where clients say, you're too expensive out of the blue. Yeah? So the reason why we get to focus on offer packaging is because this gives us after affordability options. Yeah. Previously, if say they said you are so expensive for just pricing 100,000, which is the first thing you need to take up. You got to price per full service. If learning or if getting from point to point B takes them or costs them 100,000, check them for that. Those who can afford, they're going to pay for it. Yeah. But in situations where you get to find that, oh, you're so expensive, yeah, you start hearing those comments. Oh, you're so expensive. Oh, isn't there any other option? We can strike a deal so that I get to learn as I pay in installments. Now, the next part gets to come in. Yeah. So you get to price per each service session. Okay. Now, here's what gets to do, or here's what gets to make sense in addition to step 1. Yeah. Because you know how long it takes for one to go from 0 to 100, to go from beginner to pro, you know the duration or the number of sessions that it takes. So you're going to get, let's take an example of my previous clients, as were 4 sessions. Yeah. Now you're going to get the total final price you got after adding all step 1, step 2, and step 3 figures. Say for her case was 88,000 divided by the 4 sessions. And that way, you're going to get the installment figures, like actual installment figures your client needs to pay. In other words, you get to break down the whole figure that you will charge for the whole service in terms of session. Yeah. So this is so common. Just look at all of you guys who are into education or campus or school. Yeah. Maybe throughout the whole year, they may charge, say, 1 million for a whole year. Yeah. But just because they break a year into terms or into quarters, say term 1, term 2, term 3, so you get to pay 1 million divided by the 3 terms. Yeah. And then that gives you approximately that 330 something. Yeah. If my math is right. Yeah. So that is how you do the per session service pricing. And then lastly, this is so common when it comes to software providers, is to price per first session trial. Here's how I got to know how this works. Yeah. So in my pursuit to improve my thumbnails, I landed on a platform that helps me create a thumbnail. And guess what? For them, the way they offer or the way they do this is that you pay $1 as a trial fee and get 1 month to try out their service. If you like it, then they upgrade you to the normal amount. Yeah. So that is it. Maybe another example I can say, it could be Canva. Yeah. To some of you, they might say, okay, just try it 2 weeks free of charge. Yeah. But just because you need to make money, you can't afford to give out your trial on a free trial. All you have to do is lessen the amount of price. Yeah. So if per session it costs you like, let me say 88,000 divided by 4, that gives you 22,000. And you say maybe pay 1,000 for a trial of 1 month. If you like it, they will upgrade you with a certain offer. If you don't like it, then you chill it. You have nothing much to lose. Yeah. So this gives an affordability standpoint where people get to try out all options so that they get to acquire your service. Now, you might be asking, how is this really practical? Huh? I know what scenarios do I get to even put all this? Now, well, you're going to watch this video next because in this video, I get to put all steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4 into use as I help a pro price her service